Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, despite what I said in my last video, we're going to be looking at spirits, as you probably saw from the title. So what exactly are spirits? Because, that's not exactly it's a popular concept in fantasy, but there's no consistent definition. Like, we all know what an elf or an orc is, but, what is a spirit? Because it's different depending on the world. So, what is it? Well, let's get into that, I guess. So, what are spirits? And, I think the best way to show this is, with souls. If you remember from, my second video, this is basically what a mortal soul looks like. This is mana, pure magical energy, and the spirit is surrounding it, and that's basically your emotions and thoughts and stuff. Like what your brain is in real life, but, it's fantasy, so it's not your brain. And then here is, what a god's soul look like. So it's, so it has, a core of, emotion and spirit, circled by pure mana and energy and stuff. And then here's what a spirit soul looks like. It's kind of like an in-between of both. It's got the orbiting spirit of a mortal soul, but instead of having the chaotic mana energy, it's more refined and perfected and stuff. And this makes them somewhere in between mortals and gods. Kind of like a mixture of the idea of demigods and angels. Basically put those two concepts together and then add in natural spirits and stuff from a lot of folklore and mythology, and that's basically what they are. So now that we vaguely know what they are, what are they about? So I made a little diagram and stuff to show stuff. So here's the mortal realm where most of my world takes place. Here's Serinosis, which is the map and stuff, and my main world. And then here's a bunch of other realms and places that we'll get into a different time. But the most important thing right here is the spirit realm. So basically, not all spirits are in the spirit realm. Some travel to the mortal realm and stuff, which is why I'm so interested in them. Because if they never appeared in the main story and world, who would care? But sometimes they show up here, but they have a main world or realm here. And I went through the liberty of coming up with some of the stranger biomes in their world, because of course they'd also have normal forests and stuff, but I also want there to be a lot of strange and unique stuff, things that are too magical even for my magical fantasy world, and that's what I tried to make. So there's sunset forests, which are like this and are inspired by those golden trees you see in Rivendell in the Lord of the Rings movies. And then here's a world vortex, which is basically a bunch of water. You're looking over it from a ledge, and it's a bunch of water spiraling into the center, and that's how some spirits get to other worlds, but we'll get into that in a minute. And then the Earth Magnus, which is floating rocks and stuff. And then you have the Levitating Highlands, which are floating islands with cool trees and stuff. And then Mushroom Gorges, and giant mushroom trees and stuff. And then there's Frost Peaks, which have weird ice trees and ice spikes, and the Aurora Borealis in our world, but times a million, and everywhere, and all the time. So those are some of the more unique and interesting biomes inside of the spirit realm, the stuff you wouldn't see in a normal world. So now that I've shown you kind of a bit about spirits in the world and stuff, you probably want some examples of them. It would be talking about fantasy beasts and dragons without showing any examples. So here's kind of the inspiration of why I chose this as my next video, even though I said it would be beasts, because I kind of got carried away and made all of these guys because I like sculpting stuff out of clay. And these are different the traditional monster things. This is a goblin and orc and stuff. Those traditional things I sculpted and made versions for my world. And I already have the ideas of what the different races and species in my world are Originally, I don't want to have goblins and orcs or anything like that at all, but then I decided I kind of do want them, but not in a traditional form. While most people would have them be a normal fantasy race, that just didn't really feel right with my world, so I made them spirits. So here's goblins. This is a more unique one that I kind of came up with called the Synox. It's based off of the Cyclops and the Hinox from Zelda. And then there's an orc, troll, ogre, And then there's this guy. He's called the Green King and is something called an Arc Spirit, which is something I'll get into like a bit later. And this is like a different group of spirits called the Green Folk. Except him, because I already said he's like a different thing. Because it's like different kinds and classes of spirits. It's just one example, so here's like some more. There's this like really cool book I found, and in it I'm like writing about like spirits and stuff from my world, because I really like writing like in-universe books and stuff like that. So like on the first page here, like this first class of spirits is called minor spirits. So basically they're like the smaller and weaker ones, like how in a lot of like cultures and stuff, like especially like different like Celtic mythology and stuff, for example. Like will-o-wisps are a pretty common idea, you know, like glowing spirits of the dead and stuff. And then, of course, there's ideas like fairies and pixies and stuff like that. And that's kind of what this is. Like, fae is a different category I'm going to make later. But, like, this is kind of some of that kind of stuff. So, here's the will-o-wisp. And then the moss spirit, which is a little, like, grass-type spirit. And then the oshif spirit, who's, like, a fish who, like, controls a water body. And then the next few pages are blank, because my plan is to make, like, one for each of my 7 elements. But I don't really have ideas for those, so I skipped those and went to 1 or 2 more that I do have ideas for. So here's the Fey Imp, and you might be saying if Fey's a different category, why is it called the Fey Imp if it's not in the Fey category? Well, there's 2 reasons behind that. One, at first, the Fey wasn't going to be a different category. I came up with that more recently than this was made. And 2, the in-universe explanation is, you know, people like name things that are incorrect sometimes. Like killer whales don't actually kill that many people. And, you know, like bananas are berries, but blackberries aren't, and like that kind of stuff. So, like, you know, calling stuff by their incorrect names is basically just a human tradition. And then here's one I just made right before I filmed this video called the Dracoling, which is basically like a little mini dragon. Because dragons and like phoenixes are pretty unique in my world. Like they're like the most prominent creatures in it. Not like the most prominent as in like there's the most of them, but like as in I mean they're very like specific. Like, my world's universe, dragons and phoenixes specifically are like very special kinds of creatures and stuff. So there's some kinds of dragons that are like physical beings, and there's some that are spirits and stuff. And this is like the lowest class of like dragon-like thing that is a spirit. That's basically the idea behind it. A lot of the rest of these pages are empty, but I do one day want to fill all this up. So basically, yeah, that's a little overview of what spirits are like in my world. So if you still have questions about them, maybe comment them down below, and I might answer them. Or maybe, if there's enough, I might make another video about this in the future. But I hope you liked the video. If you did, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do to show that you like it. But if you were to just do one thing, it would be to subscribe. That would be really cool. It's nice to see this channel grow. So have a good day, and bye!